fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
We've come to the end of a pretty tumultuous year, both in real life and in the world of sim racing, but now it's time for the crew at Oceanic Dirt Sim events to let their hair down one final time. This is the 4th annual 410 Sprintcar Grand Slam, and once again we're going for the newest dirt oval on the iRacing service. It's Cedar Lake Speedway in New Richmond, Wisconsin. A beautiful circuit, certainly provides a lot of challenge to the drivers, and those drivers will have some of Australia and New Zealand's best dirt sim racers among them. Taking a look at where the circuit is located, it's just inside Wisconsin from the state of Minnesota. Probably a bit of an understatement, but I'd say it's just a hop over the river. There is Cedar Lake Speedway. Very short track, this one, 3/8 of a mile, opened in 1957, and certainly providing a great challenge to anyone who decides to tackle it. Pits located outside the track as well, so that's going to be an issue for drivers coming out into the practice sessions, but we're going to get ready now for the go-to for this event, the format as well. We've got quite the format here tonight. Only 8-lap heats here, with the top 4 advancing to the A main. Everyone else gets put into the C main and the B main, where the top 2 and then the top 4 advance to the A main. Then we've got the pole shuffle, the top 2 from each heat competing against each other one-on-one to decide who starts on pole position for the feature, which is going to be 40 laps in length tonight. My name is Reese Gardner for SimSpeed TV, and joining me in the commentary box is Cameron Dance. Cam, it's been an interesting few weeks for Oceanic Dirt Sim events. They've just concluded their King of the 360 series and their Speed Week, with Clayton Davies winning overall in King of the 360, and Bob King, the champion of Speed Week. So now it's one more opportunity for a driver to etch their name into the record books.
Yes, certainly. And one last time to get a bit of bragging rights as well for a lot of these drivers in the end. They've had a lot of racing this year, have the guys at ODSC, so it'll be interesting to see who's going to come away with this event. And this event always puts on some really, really good racing at the end of the day. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. And we're going to crown a new champion tonight.
Yeah, we certainly are. Just waiting on the event to get going proper, because we're going to move on very soon into qualifying, and typical for ODSE, only 4 minutes of qualifying and only 2 laps, and no one is allowed to go out in practice. If there are any cars out on track in this warm-up session, well, they are going to get an immediate end of line for their start in the heats. But the event format tonight certainly going to shake things up, and around a track like this, you certainly want that kind of thing. Cedar Lake is an interesting circuit. Of course, me being the dirt racing noob that I am, though I have been commentating on this sort of stuff for a bit, I never heard of Cedar Lake Speedway, and the first time I drove it, I was very pleasantly surprised by it. It's got pretty good banking for a circuit of its size, but it still remains flat enough that mechanical grip is needed to get it through the corners properly.
Yes, certainly, and it's even got 2 ends of the racetrack as well, I guess somewhat similar to the name of the track, except Gateway. That's the one where one end of the track's slightly tighter, and then you got a more open the other end. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how this track is going to wear and what sort of lines we're possibly going to see, because that outside wall at turn 2, from a personal experience, comes up very, very quickly if you're not careful enough. So it's really going to test a lot of these drivers, and starting at the front of the field is really going to probably pay dividends to being able to come away with a good result and making it through to the AMA.
Yes, indeed. Those walls are going to be a big factor here at all times, and we not only have to think about that, but also down on the inside of the circuit, they've got tyres lined up on the edge of the racetrack. You don't want to go too low, otherwise you're going to hit one of those tyres, and it's going to massively unsettle your car. And at that point, you're probably going to find the outside wall anyway.
Yes, certainly you are, and it's the last thing you want to be doing is hitting that inside tyre or that outside wall indeed. So yeah, you're really going to have to be very, very careful in that respect, and just at the end make sure you're not having any troubles and keeping that car in one piece.
We're still waiting for drivers to file into the session. We've got in excess of 50 entries here tonight for the Sprintcar Grand Slam, and really looking forward to seeing who is going to come out on top. Looking at the names that have turned up here, it is going to be business as usual, I think, when it comes to excitement, because we've got the likes of Richie McLeod, who topped the winged sprint car standings in the King of the 360 series. Ethan Bastian is here as well, the champion of the wingless semi-championship. We've also got Joel Berkeley, one of the stars of the Australian Sprint Car Championship, as well as Harry Stewart making an appearance here as well. The rest of the names that you'll see tonight are going to be ones that you're going to be very familiar with if you've seen dirt racing here on SimSpeed TV before. All of these guys very familiar with each other, and it can be a bit of a rough community at times, but it's certainly a tight-knit one, the iRacing Dirt community.
Yeah, it certainly is. Everybody pretty much knows each other at this point, and especially in this sort of field where everybody has raced each other more than a few times now in the likes of the ADSC stuff. So everybody's got a fair idea on who's who and what they're expecting from each driver and how they're going to race each other. So yeah, it should be a pretty good night overall, and hopefully we don't see too many tempers flare, if any.
Yes, indeed. So then, the track remains quiet as we're still waiting on final confirmation that everyone's in and we can finally get going. But looking around, obviously we have a full contingent of virtual spectators here to see how the racing goes tonight, and the fountain in the middle of the lake in the center of the circuit providing a bit of serenity, the calm before the storm. Because once these sprint cars get out onto the circuit, your ears are going to be as good as gone. These things producing 900 horsepower, sometimes in excess of that, and they're not that heavy either. Only one gear. They got big wings. There's an awful lot of downforce to be had, and I think around a track like this, very tight when it comes to 410 sprint car racing. You'd usually see these cars getting opened up all the way at a half-mile place like Eldora, for example. But over here, it's a bit more of a paperclip at Cedar Lake. And you mentioned before, Cam, the run out of turn 2, it can really tighten up. I tried some laps myself in preparation for this event, and I could not get it around the track as fast as some of these guys have in the practice sessions. We're seeing times of about 10 seconds or thereabouts, I reckon we'll be seeing for the fastest times around here. But you've got to be very precise with the steering.
Yeah, you certainly do, and it's there's no one certain line either that kind of works. That top side really does have the advantage of being able to shoot off the corner quite well, but then that bottom side seems to be able to get on and through into the tighter stuff and be able to be utilized as a passing opportunity, I guess. So it's really going to be a lot of different lines and a mix of racing as to who's going to do what. I'd expect there's going to be probably a few slide jobs thrown up the inside with how much of a shorter run it is through the corner with that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's just one of those tracks that I guess is out there, and it's one that we've luckily been able to get onto the iRacing service in the end.
Yes, indeed. Well, the 10-minute mark has just passed in practice, and thinking back a bit further to previous runnings of the Grand Slam, the last time we were together for the Grand Slam was at Lernerville Speedway, which was previously one of the newer dirt ovals on the iRacing service, and certainly that brought up an excellent set of races. Very exciting, seeing the limits to which these drivers push themselves. But unlike Lernerville, this track, Cedar Lake Speedway, has a wall around the outside. So if you push a bit too hard into the corner, the best you can hope for is getting ricocheted back into the pack pursuing.
Yes, certainly. Or then again, that's still not the most ideal thing to have happen, is ending up being ricocheted across everybody's side panels and wheels and then back into the walls. So, yeah, you're really going to need to keep it out of the wars, really, and just try and keep that car clean as possible.
A few more drivers now filing in to this practice session, and looks like it's officially started with drivers now out on track. Jaden Russell putting in the fastest lap of a 10.937, which is pretty good to see from him. A bit faster than Joel Berkeley. Meanwhile, Richie McLeod then going straight to the top. The practice is only going to last for 60 to 90 seconds. That's all the drivers will have an opportunity to do. And it looks like the session has been advanced forward, and now we are finally going to get ready to go into qualifying. 4 minutes, 2 laps, and we will wait and see who comes out on top. Who is going to start in first place for their heats?
Yeah, certainly. And there's a lot of good drivers in this field as well who could easily come away with a very, very good qualifying result and a very good result in the heats and in the feature as well. So it's kind of, I guess, anybody's guess as to who's actually going to be the quickest one out there, really.
Yes, well, we will wait and see. As the times start filing in, Liam James is the first driver to set a time there of an 11.968. 11.4 for Mason Hannigan. Zachary Fallon pips him to the top spot. 11.4 now as the times continue filing in. Zachary Fallon remaining on top as more drivers file their way into the timesheets. Miles Jansen going to second place with Jackson Delamont, and then Craig Dunn setting an 11.374, putting himself up into the top spot. Drivers like Ethan Bastian, Max Lumsden, Aston Hurley, who are usually quite quick in these cars, not having the best time. They're qualifying actually a bit further down the field. Tom Callahan and Aston Hurley, as I say it, sets an 11.3, only 0.02 of a second between the top two at the moment. Trent Gosley also putting it P3, which is really good to see. And there goes Richie McLeod right to the top, an 11.284.
Yeah, very, very nice time. And Lewis Clark going to P2 as well on his lap. So his times are starting to roll in for the very, very quick guys. And we'll start to see, we'll have a fair idea on what the heats are going to look like, I guess.
Yes, indeed. It's coming to an end very quickly, with Clint Smith being another driver to set a time as David Heilemann goes to the top at 11.196. That's quite the statement there for Mr. Heilemann, putting himself ahead of Lewis Clark. That's half a tenth's worth of gap. Joel Berkeley, what can he do versus this assault? We've still got quite a few drivers yet to set times who we would expect up the top. Berkeley is going to come across the line, set an 11.5 for his first lap. And we see this on board here, going straight to the inside, pushing himself up towards the outside on corner exit and setting an 11.176. That is 0.02 of a second over David Heilemann, and that's going to be enough to secure him pole provisionally for the time being. What about Brenton Hobson? Hobbo 88, one of 3 drivers now left to set a time. Laps go by so quickly at this place, and you see the cushion really starting to form. An 11.309 for Hobbo. That's actually quite good for him. Puts himself in the top 10 on the timesheets. We've still got Daniel Selleck and Dylan DeBono yet to set their times. And it looks like, of those guys, DeBono is the one out on track at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. And Clayton Tilley's also gone to P3 as well in that mean time. So good lap by him. And it's very, very close at the top. We'll see what DeBono can do in his qualifying run. He comes across the line in 11.487. So he's going to end up a little bit down the order at the moment in 31st. And it looks like he had to back out of it in that second lap. So probably not going to improve here. But he's going to come across the stripe and set in 11.586. So no improvement. And is going to end up starting all the way down to 31st.
Yeah, unfortunately, DeBono's exit compromised there, but he's going to be starting there regardless, and there's always a chance to work your way back into contention in the A main. You just got to make sure that you keep it consistent throughout the heats. So those are the overall qualifying results, but these are not how they're going to line up for their heats. They're going to be split off into heats of 10 cars each, and it's going to be decided through a stagger down the order. Last couple of seconds as we take one more look at the top 10 times, and those are the names that I would expect to be in the top 10. Bob King there, just 0.14 behind our pole sitter. Time then for the first heat of the night. It's going to be an 8-lapper with the top 4 going through into the feature, and it's headed up by Joel Berkeley and Richie McLeod on the first row. Trent Gosley and James Rice joining each other on row 2. Cooper Dunn and Thomas Mitchell rounding out the top 6. Mr. DeBono getting a start in the first heat of the night with Danny Vassell in 8th. Ash Ewing and Liam James rounding out our 10-car field. Now, if we want to try and figure out who's going to win this heat, in terms of favourites, I think most people who watch these events would think Joel Berkeley is one of the drivers to really come out on top, but we know that Richie McLeod and Trent Gosley, as well as James Rice, have a lot of potential under their belt. Remember, Richie McLeod actually won the first round of the ASC series at Eldora.
Yes, certainly, and there's a lot of potential, like you said, for any of these drivers to end up coming away with the possible heat win if anything untoward goes on at the front of the field. But yeah, it's certainly the favourites would have to be Joel Berkeley and Richie McLeod, and probably the dark horses being James Rice, Trent Gosley, and a few of those other drivers as well.
Yeah, drivers like Danny Vassell and Dylan DeBono starting a bit further down in the field. They know what it's like to be competing up towards the front. As we see Joel Berkeley doing a bit of a test start there. It's going to be quite important to get a good run off the start at a track like this, because your pace speed is quite slow, just under 60 kilometers an hour, and an awful lot of power under the wheels of these things. So onto the back straight they go. The pace truck is going to pull in at the end of this one, going off the circuit. And away we go. We are green now, actually catching up with the pace truck as it pulls in. Joel Berkeley leads the way out of turns 1 and 2. Trent Gosley's made his way up into second. Richie McLeod now fending off James Rice in the United Esports machine. Round the outside goes Rice, and oh no, there we go. Contact, Rice into the wall. Is he going to land on his wheels? Unfortunately, no. He is out of this heat, so I don't know if Richie McLeod is going to get a bit of a look in from race control for that one. Joel Berkeley continuing to lead here with Trent Gosley second, McLeod third. Now Thomas Mitchell has worked his way up into 4th place, and that is the important position to keep track of. That is the final transfer spot.
Certainly is, and Mitchell's actually starting to apply a bit of pressure to Richie McLeod here, and he's got company of Danny Vassell behind him, so it's actually a 3-car battle nearly for this final transfer spot, but laps are quickly running out. McLeod deciding to go to the bottom. He's
black flagged.
Black flagged.
Yeah, he just got black flagged by race control for that incident just before with James Rice. So he's pulled out of this one. He's going to be out of this heat. He's going to have to work his way through the consolations. Danny Vassell now occupies the 4th place transfer spot, and he's really pressuring Thomas Mitchell. As we're coming up more towards the final lap now, it's going to be white flag for our race leader, Joel Berkeley. Vassell pushing super hard there, going all the way up to the wall. But Mr. Berkeley, on his 8th and final lap, is going to get the win here. There's the pass for 3rd for Danny Vassell as Joel Berkeley takes the win up ahead. Oh my goodness, it looks like it might have just been decided across the line for 3rd and 4th. That was quite the close finish there between Mitchell and Vassell, but they all make it into the feature. My goodness, that was a pretty intense race to start things off, but now we're going to move straight on into Heat 2. It's going to be David Heilemann who starts on pole for the second heat of the night. Aston Hurley's going to join him on the first row. Daniel Hartigan and Tyler Stevenson in third and fourth. Zachary Fallon and Jackson Delamont in fifth and sixth. Nathan Norman and Sean Stevens occupy the fourth row, and the fifth and final row taken up by Paul Bryan and Luke Payton. So, after that one, Cam, goodness me, I need a bit of a moment to catch my breath. That was super quick, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It was only 1:31 in the end for the finishing time for Joel Berkeley. So it was absolute rapid fire stuff over that first heat. And it was absolutely insane as to what happened in the end. It was a crazy close finish between Vassell and Mitchell in the end. Nothing in it. Only about 400ths of a second in the end across the line between the two of them. So there was absolutely nothing in it, but amazing job by Mitchell to get the drive off the bottom and square the corner up. So very, very good job, and they'll be all happy to get through to the A-main as well automatically instead of having to work their way through the constellations like Richie McLeod will have to do. But it's probably fair to say David Heilemann is well and truly the favourite for this one.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. The Hylemaniacs will be watching this one intently, with Aston Hurley and Daniel Hartigan going to be pressuring him for the podium spots. So the pace truck's going to pull off here, and Heilemann decides to go early. He gets a really good start as we are green for the heat, but Daniel Hartigan trying up the inside. He's gotten a bit crossed up, and Aston Hurley is now going to pile the pressure on. Keep an eye out, though, for Mr. Zachary Fallon, fighting hard with Tyler Stevenson. Everyone all together on track at the moment, which is awesome to see, but it looks like Heilemann is starting to gap his lead gap at the moment. Daniel Hartigan and Aston Hurley getting in each other's way a bit here and allowing Heilemann to get away. There's a car on the wall. That's Tyler Stevenson, and that's caused a pile-up at the back. That's going to be Nathan Norman involved in that one, as well as a third car who escapes me at the moment. It's Paul Bryan.
Yeah, and it looks like it all just happened from a slide job gone wrong by Zachary Fallon up the inside, so he's going to cop a black flag and end up at the back of the field, unfortunately, and probably end up having to go through the constellations. So the final transfer spot's going to be in the hands of Sean Stevens at this point.
Yeah, and he's got quite a gap ahead of him to third place, so he's all on his own here as advancing on towards him is Luke Payton, getting closer and closer lap by lap, but I don't know if he'll have enough time to get that one done. Our top three, nice and spaced out together on track at the moment. And David Heilemann is just controlling this race at the moment as he crosses the line to begin his final lap. Having a look at Daniel Hartigan, though, he's actually crossed himself up on the exit of turns 1 and 2 as Heilemann takes victory. This could be a surprise second place here for Aston Hurley, could it? No, only just misses out on taking second, but the fourth and final transfer spot ends up going to Sean Stevens, and after him starting in 8th, I think that's a pretty profitable heat.
Certainly. Luke Payton did pretty good as well, starting from the back of the field to get 5th in the end, but just didn't quite make it through to the A main, but he will at least start further up in the field for the one of the B mains, so he'll be pretty happy with that. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens here in Heat 3 race, because we've got a pretty stacked lineup.
We certainly have. It's headed up by Clayton Tilley and Tom Callahan, with Chris Lacey and Braith Kalin on the second row. Peter Kerr, Mason Hannigan on the third row. Isaac Roos and Max Lumsden joining each other in 7th and 8th. And the field rounded out by Lindsay Hobbs and Daniel Selleck. And I just want to quickly update on the Richie McLeod situation. It turns out Richie has retired from the event. I think he was a bit unhappy with how things had gone there for him. I don't know if we'll see him make another appearance tonight, but at the very least, he's disconnected from the server. So we'll have to move our attention forward then, because Clayton Tilley going to be starting on pole for this one, and Tom Callahan in that number 50 machine will be looking for a heat victory here to try and consolidate his way into the pole shuffle. We do have to remember the pole shuffle as well. That's going to be very important later on. Every top 2 finisher from the heats gets to compete in that to decide who starts on pole position. Just a couple more turns to go then. The pace truck will pull away imminently, and we'll see what kind of start Clayton Tilley can manage here. And how early he starts as well. Well, he actually goes right in the middle of 3 and 4 and takes Tom Callahan by surprise, who drops back to third, with Chris Lacey then taking second, and Callahan ends up getting that backed up and made contact, and that's caused a pile up. Isaac, Mason Hannigan, as well as Peter Kerr, I think, also getting involved in that one, and already we've seen retirements from that. Braith Kalin, though, going for the move on Chris Lacey for second. That was a great slide job that I just saw. It looks like this is allowing Clayton Tilley to get away from the rest of the field. Oh no! Another big crash there. Max Lumsden involved in that one, as well as Chris Lacey, who was in second place and then third at the time. Tilley, though, having to go for the avoiding action because Lacey is still there on the circuit. He's trying to recover himself, but goodness me, that's going to be a stressful situation. He's going to be at least a couple of laps down.
Certainly is. He's going to end up falling another lap down as well, and he's going to end up retiring it as a result of ending up in that situation, unfortunately. But it's probably a fair assumption that Clayton Tilley's going to wrap this one up very, very easily with the way that he's been driving, with the lack of pressure he's had from behind. Braith Kalin has been doing reasonably well, though, to end up staying in second place and keeping that gap reasonably close to him. So we'll have to see what happens, but it's all on for the final transfer spot between Lindsay Hobbs and Selleck, though, because there's absolutely nothing in it between the two of them.
Yeah, absolutely. The side-by-side with Daniel Selleck carrying some damage here as they're on the final lap. Oh, this is going to be intense. Can he get the run as Clayton Tilley's going to take the win up ahead? Contact just before the line, and it looks like Lindsay Hobbs is going to be the one to take that final transfer spot. I do have to give props to Braith Kalin, though, because setting the fastest lap on the way to a second-place finish is certainly something to be happy about. So there's your top four: Clayton Tilley, Braith Kalin, Tom Callahan, and Lindsay Hobbs. Unfortunately, Isaac Roos, Chris Lacey, Mason Hannigan, and Max Lumsden, they're going to have to be licking their wounds for a bit until the consolations come around. Let's move on, though, to Heat 4. This is going to be headed up by Lewis Clark and Brenton Hobson, with Daniel Gow and Daniel Boyd sharing the second row. Damian Rasmussen and Rowan Jones, 5th and 6th, with Scott Reed and Ethan Bastian, 7th and 8th. 9 cars in this one. The end of the field rounded out by John Schultz there in the number 78.
Be interesting to see who comes away with this one. It's very, very close between who you pick out of that, probably that top 5, really, if not the entire field, as to who's going to end up coming away with those transfer spots. Probably the favourites would be Clark, Hobson, Gow, and Rasmussen, possibly even Ethan Bastian if he can move his way through the field. But yeah, it's going to be very, very close as to what's going to happen here and who's going to come away with the win here.
Yeah, it's turning out to be quite a narrow circuit that is lending itself to some crashes, so the drivers are going to have to be extra careful around this particular heat. Lewis Clark, though, he will be the one taking the start here as the pace truck has already pulled away, and away he goes. Catches Brenton Hobson sleeping there, because have a look at Daniel Gow on the inside. He's going to try and get the run here on Hobbo, and he's on the fresher dirt on the inside. It looks like he's managed to get that done. So once again, the top 3 breaking away from the rest of the field, but it looks like everyone else, literally everyone else, is fighting for the last transfer spot, and that's contact between Damian Rasmussen and Rowan Jones. Oh no, Hobbo! My goodness. This has just completely turned upside down right away. Lewis Clark continuing to lead. Daniel Gow in second. Scott Reed has made his way up into third. And Ethan Bastian in the final transfer spot. And now they've swapped places. Bastian in third and Reed with the final transfer spot. John Schultz fighting for 5th place with Damian Rasmussen. And they just made contact, smacking each other off the circuit, Rasmussen and Schultz. So, unfortunately, looks like Brenton Hobson is not going to be able to take advantage of that because he has retired from this one. Ethan Bastian setting the fastest lap so far.
Certainly look like he's got a lot of pace at the moment. Does
yeah,
Bastian.
wow.
and that is some rapid pace with an 11.962 in heat conditions. And that's a mistake from Gao on the way through 3 and 4, and that's going to drop him back into the clutches of Scott Reed. He's still got a little bit of a buffer though, but the laps are counting down, and he doesn't need to make any more errors.
No, certainly not. Lewis Clark continues leading here as he started his final lap. It's been a nice measured drive from the number 36, the number 11 on the livery, and he takes the win there. With Ethan Bastian making his way up to second, a fantastic drive from him. Daniel Gao comes home in third, with Scott Reed taking up the final transfer spot. Unfortunately, Daniel Boyd, Rowan Jones, John Schultz, Damian Rasmussen, and Brenton Hobson are going to have to work their way through the consolations. Those are the results there. Brenton Hobson, the only driver to retire from that one, but he is going to have another chance very, very soon. It's time for Heat 5, and this is going to be the final heat of the night. And this field cam is certainly going to be something special. We got Jaden Russell on pole for this one. Bob King and Harry Stewart rounding out the top 3. Of course, Bob King, the ODSE Speed Week champion, and he'll be looking to brand his name on this event. Craig Dunn starts in 4th alongside Stewart, with Miles Jansen and Vince Romeo on the 3rd row, Bradley Minchell, Clint Smith, and John Billington rounding out the final 9-car field for tonight's heats. I'm looking forward to this one because Jaden Russell, well, he's shown his pace in qualifying, doing better than King and Stewart in terms of one-lap pace, but we know how capable King and Stewart are. They are going to take the fight to him here.
They certainly are, and we've seen in the past that Russell is not exactly a slow person either, so he's certainly going to make them work for it, is Jaden Russell, and it'll be interesting to see what happens and who's going to end up taking this one out of these 3, because it's going to be an absolute monster of a battle, I reckon, between those top 3 as to who's going to come away with it, and it's probably going to be anybody's guess as to who's going to come away with that final transfer spot as well.
Yes, indeed. We might well be surprised here because we do have drivers like Vince Romeo and Clint Smith in here who proven themselves to be capable wheelmen as we are away, and Jaden Russell gets a really good start there along with Bob King, but Harry Stewart forces it up the inside and takes second place there, and he's going for it for the lead, sticking to the inside, but unfortunately the traction is gone, and there's contact there. King tried passing Jaden Russell and smacking him into the wall. That's going to be a retirement for Jaden on his side. And Bob King and Harry Stewart side by side for the race lead, with the number 67 and Miles Jansen right in the midst of it with them. Bob King might have a penalty hanging over his head, and he has. He's got a penalty there from race control as he goes back up the inside of Harry Stewart, and Stewart almost getting into the wall.
I think there's a pretty clear-cut penalty for Bob King in the end, so he's going to be very, very disappointed with himself. But it's all on between the two of them at the front, and Miles Jansen is sitting back here wondering, what does he do here? Where does he go? Because he's not sure. And
there goes
now
King
in second, so he's going to be well and truly in with a shot of getting through to the A main here. But Craig Dunn has got his hands full with Vince Romeo, not too far behind, but he's trying to find a way back on by Bradley Minchell. Contact between the two of them. Dunn's into the wall, managed to recover it, but it's not exactly the easiest bit of work in the world for him at the moment.
No, certainly not. And the final transfer spot's going to be interesting here because Craig Dunn, who currently occupies it, is going to start coming under pressure from Vince Romeo here on the final lap if he's not careful. He still tries to get past Bradley Minchell, but up ahead, Harry Stewart coming out of the final corner to take victory here in the final heat of the night. Miles Jansen advancing from 5th to 2nd, and Bradley Minchell 5th to 3rd. Craig Dunn, well, he started in 4th and he finishes 4th. They are through to the feature. Bob King, though, classified in 5th place thanks to his penalty, with Romeo, Smith, Billington, and Russell rounding out your field there. Unfortunate for Jaden Russell. He certainly deserved to be competing up towards the front of that one, but it's the way the proverbial cookie crumbles sometimes. We move on, though. This is just bam, 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 event after event after event. We're into the C main now. This is going to be a 12-lapper. The top 2 from this one will advance through into the B main. John Billington is going to be the one who lines up in front alongside Ash Ewing, Nathan Norman, and Chris Lacey. 2 drivers who didn't have the best of luck in their heats starting on the second row. Rasmussen and King, row 3. Looking for redemption is King, as well as Richie McLeod, but he has not re-entered the server, so I doubt that he's going to take to the grid there. Tyler Stevenson lining up in 8th with Mason Hannigan and Brenton Hobson rounding out the top 10. And it's a 14-car field for this one, rounded out by Jaden Russell, who was ignominiously taken out of the last heat, James Rice, Paul Bryan, and Max Lumsden in the 14th and final spot. And I think it's anyone's guess as to who's going to win this, Cam, because we've got drivers who we'd expect to be up the front of a typical field, like Jaden Russell, Brenton Hobson, Bob King, Max Lumsden, starting in the midfield or towards the back.
They're certainly going to have their work cut out for them, moving their way through the field to make it through to those first 2 positions. And like you said, there's quite a few of them that are very, very capable of easily making it through, but there's only 2 of them that can go through, and it's going to be a real scrap as to who's going to end up going through in the end.
Breaking news, though, Bob King has not taken to the grid either, so I think his night is going to be over too, as well as Richie McLeod. So unfortunately, we've lost 2 cars from this grid. However, we have still got one heck of a C main coming up. 12 laps, and it's still going to go in the blink of an eye, but when you're in the driver's seat in these things, it's certainly quite intense, and that's a great start from John Billington. He takes the lead into turn 1. Nathan Norman, unfortunately, goes a bit hard into there and makes contact with him. Concertina's the field back into itself. Rasmussen concertinaing into Mason Hannigan, who's now recovering. The pace truck has pulled into the pits, and have a look at the jostling here in the pack. The number 8 there. That's incredible stuff. And oh no, we got a car in the wall up there. That's John Billington, our pole sitter, getting stuck there.
And Lumsden's gone around 2 on the front straight, unfortunately. So another few victims in this race, but certainly all on in this mid-pack as the quicker drivers trying to come through the field. It's headed up by Norman, Hobson, Bryan, and then Stevenson. It's just all going on in this mid-pack. Those top 2 are really actually starting to break away a little bit here from the rest of them, but they're starting to catch up to those top 2 is Jaden Russell and the rest of them.
Yes, indeed. The top 2 currently, Ash Ewing and Chris Lacey, they need to be careful to stay out of each other's hair if they both want to advance through into the B main. Remember, it is only the top 2 who advance forward. Jaden Russell is going to be heading up this huge midfield pack here with Nathan Norman, Brenton Hobson also battling there. Damian Rasmussen at the back of the grid with James Rice at the moment, battling for 8th and 9th. Unfortunately, they can see their chances of continuing here tonight slipping away from them. James Rice nearly having a slide there as Nathan Norman going for the move on Brenton Hobson. Great slide job execution, and Brenton Hobson is going to give it right back to him there. Nathan Norman getting up into the clay, and that is contact with Paul Bryan. And wow, Tyler Stevenson having a jam on the brakes to avoid making contact with him. Very intense racing going on at the moment. But Ash Ewing and Chris Lacey still holding on to the lead. Hobson is trying to advance forward, trying to put the move here on Jaden Russell, who he himself is trying to catch up to the top 2.
Certainly is just lap after lap starting to tick by, and unfortunately the rest of them aren't going to make it through to that top 2 by the looks of it. It's going to be very close. Almost in the wall. He's managed to recover it so slightly, but in the end, it's not going to be what they want, and Ewing is going to come over with the win with Lacey getting that final transfer spot.
And they advance through into the B main as a result. So, wow, that's a big shame there for Jaden Russell, Nathan Norman, Brenton Hobson, Tyler Stevenson, and Damian Rasmussen, along with Rice, Bryan, Hannigan, Billington, Lumsden as well. We're going to have to say goodbye to those guys. They are going home, and Bob King and Richie McLeod have already gotten the next flight home, unfortunately. Those are the results then. The win decided by just under half a second between Ash Ewing and Chris Lacey. Now we move on immediately into the B main. The top 4 from this one transfer through into the feature, and we've got 14 laps coming up here. It's headed up by Dunn and Payton there with Selleck and Boyd behind them. Vince Romeo and Dylan DeBono starting on the 3rd row. Jackson Delamont and Peter Kerr on row 4. Rowan Jones and Clint Smith rounding out the top 10. And it's 16 cars in this one. Liam James and Zachary Fallon on row 6, with Isaac Roos and John Schultz on the 7th row. And our top 2 from the C main, Ash Ewing and Chris Lacey starting 15th and 16th at the back of the grid. And they're already pulling away behind the pace truck. And I'll be honest here, Cam, I am not able to pick a potential winner from this. I reckon any of these drivers could potentially take it.
100%. It's anybody's guess as to who's going to end up winning this one. It's 4 go through, so there's still some very, very big competition that's going to be going on for those transfer spots, especially that final 4th place. But yeah, it's anybody's guess as to who's going to end up coming away with this. A few drivers in there that could possibly take away the spoils, but it's going to be a lot of work for those starting down the back.
One more lap then behind the pace truck. It's going to pull off here once it comes through these last couple of turns. Cooper Dunn goes early, goes very early. Technically still in turn 3 at that point, and absolutely nailed the start. Luke Payton and Daniel Selleck fighting for 2nd place side by side, as getting a bit crossed up, I think, was Daniel Boyd, and everyone together here. Cooper Dunn starting to eke out a slight gap there for the race lead, but it's all on there in the mid-pack. Look at all of the jostling going on between drivers here. Trying to go around the outside is Daniel Boyd on Jackson Delamont, but Delamont fires it through into the corner. They've got an awful lot to deal with here. Peter Kerr, his exit has been compromised out of turn 2, and now he's got 3 cars behind him. Rowan Jones, Clint Smith and Zachary Fallon all vying for that particular spot.
Yeah, they're certainly battling hard at back there in the field, but it's all going on as well for those final few transfer spots, as well as you've got DeBono and Boyd going at it side by side, currently in that 5th place, and then you've even got everybody ahead in that top 4, all really, really close together, side by side for 2nd though. Payton's on the outside, Selleck's on the outside, sorry. Payton trying to make the bottom side work. He's going to send it to the inside again to try and stay down there, but just can't quite seem to have the drive off the corner, and Selleck's going to end up putting that battle in the end.
Yeah, looks like Vince Romeo is the driver who currently occupies the 4th spot, and Rowan Jones has pulled off the circuit and gone back to the garage. He's had a bit of a problem there. So has Peter Kerr. He's pulled off to the inside of the circuit in the number 21. That's a big shame for them. But Dylan DeBono now, looks like, has gotten into the 4th place transfer spot, just passing Vince Romeo. But oh no, contact between the two of them, and Romeo just disappears.
Not exactly what Romeo would have wanted at all. That was a big moment for him in the end, and he's ended up being sent back to pit lane, so he's not going to be pleased at all with that, unfortunately. And DeBono is now in that final transfer spot, and there's a big crash between Boyd and Roos in the end down the back straight.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for them. They unfortunately have to sort themselves out there. They've only got 1 lap to go after they cross the line, though. Have Luke Payton and Dylan DeBono as Daniel Selleck fighting hard with Cooper Dunn for the race win here. On the inside goes Cooper Dunn, but there goes Daniel Selleck. Powers out around the outside to take victory. Or not just about. I'm very sorry. We've got an extra 2 laps here. Wouldn't be a SimSpeed broadcast without a Reese and a gap as the fight continues. Now it is the final lap. Selleck, it seems, holding station round the outside. He's working the cushion beautifully. Cooper Dunn fired it straight in, but there we go. Powering round the outside. Daniel Selleck taking victory in the B main. Cooper Dunn in 2nd, with Luke Payton and Dylan DeBono in the last 2 transfer spots. I gotta say, though, the advances forward from Isaac Roos and Chris Lacey were pretty special. Isaac started in 13th, and Chris Lacey started in 16th, and they ended up rounding out the top 6. So who knows how they could have gone if things had been a little different. Well, That is the bulk of the pre-A main running done tonight. It is time for the spinny wheel. This is how we're going to decide the order of the pole shuffle. Who is going to come out first? Let's wait and see. Looks like it's going to be Heat 3, Position 1, which is going to be... Come on, timing. What are you doing? Yeah. Looks like... oh, there we go. It was Clayton Tilley. Clayton Tilley is the one who did that. Sorry about the quick delay there. So it's going to be Clayton Tilley first out on track, but who is going to be the driver facing off against him? Let's spin the wheel once more. It shall be Heat 2, Position 1, and that was David Heilemann. Clayton Tilley versus David Heilemann for the first round of the pole shuffle. That is a matchup that I certainly did not expect, Cam.
That's a very, very tough lineup between those two, and it's anybody's guess as to which one of those two is going to end up coming away with the wins. So, yeah, it's really going to be one to look forward to.
And the next result is there. That is Heat 1, Position 1. And the winner of the first heat was Joel Berkeley. So he's going to be the next one out after it is decided between Tilley and Heilemann. Spin the wheel once more. And we'll be able to figure out who's the next one to come out. And you'll see that there are less and less options every time. We just chop them out and run the wheel again. Heat 4, Position 1. That is Lewis Clark. It seems that it's interesting. We haven't actually gotten any of the second places yet. That's quite interesting. It is completely random, we should point out, so I think just a happy coincidence more than anything. Next round of the spinning wheel, let's see who's going to come out after it's decided between Clark and whoever is there. Oh, would you look at that? Position 1 again. So that's going to be Harry Stewart, who finished Heat 5 in the first position.
I ran out of first places here.
Yeah. We have run out of first places. We have. So now, let's see who of the second place finishers is going to come out first. That's Heat 2, Position 2. That was occupied by Daniel Hartigan. And we'll go through again, and then there were 4. Which of them will it be this time? And Heat 1, Position 2. Who finished second in Heat 1? That was Trent Gosley in the number 30. And then there were 3. The spinner goes off once more. And we notice that the text is steadily getting harder and harder to read. That's Heat 4, Position 2. And that was occupied by Ethan Bastian. So, interesting that we've got drivers like that starting in the pole shuffle quite late on. Only 2 more to go then. This is going to be the final car decided out in the pole shuffle. And that is going to be Heat 3, Position 2. And that was Braith Kalin. And that is a name that we haven't seen much of in ODSE before. It's going to be interesting to see how Braith goes on. And that, of course, leaves Heat 5, Position 2. The last car out is going to be Miles Jansen. So we have got quite the pole shuffle coming up for you. These are going to be some really awesome matchups. And the way it'll be run is the first 2 drivers come out onto the circuit. They run a formation lap, and then it is a short 2-lap dash. The driver who finishes in front at the end of 2 laps gets to stay out on the circuit. The other driver has to go back into the pits, and then the next driver is brought out. They run a 2-lap dash, a winner's decided, etc., etc. And it's going to be the driver who wins the final round of the pole shuffle who starts on pole here at Cedar Lake.
So a few very, very stacked pole shuffle battles out there as well, with how that spinning wheels match them all up. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see who's going to end up where and who's going to actually win the battles in the end.
Yes, indeed. We've still got a couple of minutes to go here until the pole shuffle is ready to go. But looking at those names, I mean, I can't really pick a clear pole sitter. Of course, in terms of qualifying, it was Joel Berkeley who put his name up at the top of the timesheets, but he and David Heilemann might just face off in the second round of the pole shuffle if Clayton Tilley is taken out. So it'll be an interesting one-on-one between those guys, with Harry Stewart as well coming in a bit later on. Another thing you're going to have to consider is the state of the circuit. And if I am not incorrect, I think the track state for this session is now 0%. So the drivers are going to be wearing in this circuit as they go around. So here we go. The first two lining up. Clayton Tilley and David Heilemann towards the pit exit. And you just saw David Heilemann there going over the massive bump as they pass between the green cones that signify pit exit. That was something that I had a lot of trouble with in my practice, Cam. It's very easy for the car to go up on two wheels over that bump.
Yeah, it actually is surprisingly very, very easy to lose control of the car on the exit of pit lane. I found myself as well. It's one of the challenges of pit lane here with how you come onto the circuit, and it's actually a little bit difficult to get it to turn left and keep it out of the wall as well in some respects. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see who's going to end up coming out on the top between these two, between Heilemann and Tilley. But the tracker certainly doesn't look like it's 0%. It's still got a bit of slip on it. But yeah, it's quite the track that it's going to be, and that's actually quite an interesting livery as well, with quite a few different slick drivers' faces on it.
Oh boy. Wondering if you might be on there, Cam, as we are away, and it looks like David Heilemann losing out there to Clayton Tilley on the exit of turn 2. The first lap of their race is now over. One more lap to go for the two of them. Look at how hard they're pushing it. My goodness, what an angle there. Heilemania on the front wing, but I think the Heilemaniacs are not going to be celebrating too much at the moment, because Clayton Tilley just wins the first round of the pole shuffle. David Heilemann is going to have to pull back into the pits. So now Clayton Tilley is going to be joined by Joel Berkeley. We are not going to get the Heilemann-Berkeley showdown that I anticipated.
Yeah, sadly, we won't get the two teammates facing off, but it looks like Berkeley is having a few different issues, unfortunately, so might not end up actually seeing this battle, but we'll wait and see what happens regardless.
Yeah, hearing from David Heilemann in ImSim chat that he lost sound, so hopefully Joel can make it out onto the circuit and give Clayton Tilley a run for his money. Otherwise, it's going to have to be Clark who comes on out, and we might have to forget about Joel Berkeley. That would be unfortunate, but Joel has had quite a bit of bad luck throughout this particular year. I say that, but he's had a lot of good luck as well. All the same, I feel like some of the stuff that happens to him is quite cruel.
Yes, certainly. He's had a few different moments, unfortunately, over the year, and he's also had a lot of good ones as well, like you said. So it's hopefully a little bit of good luck here. He's still waiting for the green go button to be able to get out on track, so possibly not going to be able to get out there, but he is finally in the car and off, so he's getting out on track, and we're going to see the showdown happen.
Finally, and that's a quick reminder of how many laps we're getting ready to go for in the A main 40 green flag laps. And of course, the laps will be counted manually with the lap tracker software. So forming up now, Joel Berkeley and Clayton Tilley. And when do they start? Now they do. The pace comes up and Tilley leads the way into the first corner, but Joel Berkeley snatches it right back on the exit. got the over-under done beautifully, but pushing quite hard into turns 3 and 4. One more lap to go for the two of them. Clayton Tilley's going to have to go for a dive here if he wants to keep that pole shuffle position, but it looks to me like Joel Berkeley's done enough there to keep him behind and claim victory in the second race until he wastes no time getting the car back into the pits there.
Yes, that was a very, very quick entry into pit lane there by Clayton Tilley. Got a little bit of airtime as well on the way in.
Yeah.
So it's sent himself back to pit lane in a very, very fashionable way. But Berkeley is now going to be facing off against Lewis Clark as a result.
Indeed he is, and Lewis Clark making his way out onto the circuit in the number 36 machine. Joel Berkeley waiting patiently for him on the back stretch. So half a lap of pacing, and then they can put the power down, decide who stays out on track, who goes back into the pits, who gets to face off against the next challenger. They are both away. Joel Berkeley down on the inside seems to be working the side line pretty nicely, but Lewis Clark with a bit more pace around the outside, a bit more downforce, a bit more grip. It seems to be gapping Berkeley there as the first lap is completed. Berkeley's going to have to go for a move here if he wants to stay in contention, but Clark protects the inside on entry. Can Berkeley get the power down around the inside? No, unfortunately he cannot. Straight into the pits goes Joel Berkeley, and Lewis Clark now is the man to beat.
Yeah, he certainly is going to be the man to beat. So we'll see if he can advance to the next round or whether he's going to be the next man eliminated in this.
Yes, indeed. So Harry Stewart is going to be the next driver out on track, and Lewis Clark, once again, patiently waiting. As do we. Harry is loading in, apparently, according to his United teammate James Rice, and Harry Stewart pops into the InSim text chat with a hello. So he is indeed here. Just need to wait another minute or so for Mr. Stewart to get himself together and make his way out of the pits, and then we'll be able to find out who is going to be the next challenger for the pole shuffle.
Yeah, we certainly will be able to find out who is going to be the next person to try and move their way on through. But it's been a very, very competitive one so far, and a little bit of a mixed up grid as well.
Yes, indeed. This is going to result in quite an interesting top 10 as Harry Stewart finally makes his way out onto the circuit. Just had to wait for his setup to pass technical inspection. So now they're going to line up with Clark on the inside, it seems, and they've sorted themselves out there. They're going to have to be careful how they control their start. Track's just getting a little slicker every time, and wow, Lewis Clark has completely trounced Harry Stewart at the start. It looks like Stewart has had some trouble with his hardware or his setup or something like that. Either way, he is out by default, maybe connectivity. Harry Stewart has manually disconnected from the server as Lewis Clark continues to pound around the track. He slows down though because he's well aware that he's effectively won that by default. That's a shame though for Stewart.
Yeah, not quite sure what ended up happening there, but yeah, really, really unfortunate there for Stewart, who could have probably come away with the win there. So yeah, very, very unfortunate. But Lewis Clark is going to at least get to start one more spot up the grid.
Indeed he is, but he's facing up against quite the competitor here, Daniel Hardigan, running in the same team, of course, so they won't want to get in each other's way too much. Clark on the inside, Hardigan on the outside, and away they go, and Hardigan, it looks like, got a slightly better initial throttle application, but Lewis Clark fires it into turn 1. Daniel Hardigan's going to get him back here on the inside into turn 3, and they're both going to have to stick to the outside to maintain the pace all the way. Clark back through, and it's going to be Daniel Hardigan through again into the final corner. Can Lewis Clark fight against him on the exit? Away they go across the line. It is going to be Hardigan who takes that particular one. Lewis Clark, well, he got one extra spot on the grid thanks to Harry Stewart's technical issues, but he is unfortunately not going to start as high as he might have hoped. Trent Gosley is going to be out next to battle against Hartigan.
Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see what happens here between these two. They're going to go around one more time to do a false start that time by, but Gosley certainly had very, very good pace tonight in these heats that he's run and in qualifying as well. So I'm interested to see how he goes in this pole shuffle and whether he can move himself up the grid or not, and how he's going to end up going in the feature as well.
Yes, indeed. So Hartigan on the inside, Gosley outside. Gosley might have the advantage on the start with some grippier clay, but it looks like Hartigan has advanced way ahead into the first couple of turns. Gosley catching right back up to him, though, sticking to the outside, and Hartigan is going to outside, inside, outside. Gosley right on the back now of Hartigan on the final lap of this round. He's going to force it up the inside here. Can Hartigan hold on and put the power down round the outside? He can indeed, and fends off Trent Gosley for that round of the pole shuffle. Gosley will have to go back into the pits, and the next driver who's going to face up here against Daniel Hartigan is going to be the number 54 of Ethan Bastian.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very strong pairing of a battle between these two. Green flag in the air, and very, very nice jump by Hartigan to get ahead on the way into turn number one. Has pretty much left Bastian in his dust, but Bastian's got a very, very good run. Has to pretty much back out of it and rub bars with him in the end, but nearly had it, and it was a desperate slide job by him there on the way into turn number two, but it looks like it's going to end up being Hartigan coming away with the win once again.
Yeah, it is. Ethan Bastian certainly had the momentum to put a move there on Hartigan, who just clipped the wall. I don't know if that's going to be a bit of damage for him, as Braith Kalin now out onto the circuit. Certainly could have been a win there for Ethan Bastian, but unfortunately Hartigan just placing his car in exactly the right places. So now it's time for the other matchup. A little slight technical issue for Kalin there. Let's see how they go, though. Hopefully they don't get too close together. Hartigan nails the start there and leaves Braith Kalin in turn one, but looks like Kalin is just dropping in and out at the moment. Hartigan is effectively on track alone right now. And oh no, just popping back into existence at the wrong time. Hartigan going back through on him, and I think that's going to be Hartigan finishing ahead again. So Hartigan has gotten quite lucky here in the pole shuffle. First, Ethan Bastian having a mistake. Well, with Harry Stewart, unfortunately, having technical issues. And now Braith Kalin having technical issues as well. Miles Jansen is going to be the last one out onto circuit to see if he can take the pole position for the A main here in the ODSE 410 Sprint Car Grand Slam, away from Daniel Hartigan. Green flag is going to fly, and they are away across the line. First lap of two, and Hartigan with the better start, but you see the momentum built up there from Miles Jansen, who goes to the outside, holding it really nicely, and his exits are looking amazing. That's a slide job for him as they come around to start lap two. Can he park it in front of Daniel Hartigan? No. Hartigan gets him again on the exit, and into the wall goes Miles Jansen. That's really unfortunate for him, because Daniel Hartigan is going to come across the line and take pole position for the Grand Slam here at Cedar Lake Speedway. Excellent job.
Yeah, very, very nice way for Hartigan to finish the pole shuffle and starting in P1 on the grid. It was a very, very close move by Jansen to get the move done, but just didn't quite in the end, and then tap the wall on the way into turn number three, unfortunately. So very, very good effort, though, by Daniel Hartigan to end up getting pole in the end.
Yes, indeed. And we'll be able to bring you the start of the A main very, very shortly. We got 2 minutes until we go green for that A main. But for the time being, a very short break here on SimSpeed TV. Don't go anywhere, though. You're watching the ODSE 410 Sprint Car Grand Slam from Cedar Lake. As the sun sets on Cedar Lake Speedway in New Richmond, Wisconsin, we're going to decide very shortly who is the Grand Slam champion here in Oceanic Dirt Sim events. If you're just joining us, this is the 4th annual 410 Sprintcar Grand Slam. And, wow, we've certainly seen quite the event so far. Very crazy heats. A lot of these drivers racing properly at this track for the first time. And we've got a full contingent of a field here to start off in the 40-lap A main. And of course, we're going to have to spend a couple of laps sorting out the order of the field, because Daniel Hardigan has effectively taken pole for the event in the pole shuffle. Joel Berkeley starting on pole according to the grid, but here we go. The shuffle begins and the pace truck moves away. And everyone's going to move on forward into their relevant positions. We'll be able to go for those 40 green flag laps. I'm Reese Gardiner. Cameron Dance is alongside me in the commentary box. And Cam, this has been quite the night so far. I always love exploring a new dirt oval on the iRacing service. But now it's going to be the mother of all matchups here. Daniel Hardigan, Miles Jansen, Braith Kalin, and Ethan Bastian, your top 4. Trent Gosley, Lewis Clark, Harry Stewart, Joel Berkeley, Clayton Tilley starting in the back. David Heileman also in the midfield. I shouldn't have said the back, I mean midfield. But this is going to be quite the event, isn't it?
Certainly is going to be a very, very good event. It's got a lot of very fast drivers in it. It's got some very, very interesting moments over the course of the night as well. But we're back to green flag racing, and so far it's been a very, very good jump by Daniel Harding. Again, that was very close by Jansen trying to get the side job done. Kalin, sorry, and there's side by side, minor bit of contact on the way to turn number 3. They're going to be racing hard for the lead, but Hardigan comes away with the lead at this point.
That he does, and only just ahead here. Oh, there we go. Braith Kalin going for the slide job, but was he ahead in time? There has been a caution. Something has happened down in the field, and a bunch of drivers suddenly having black flags cleared. So I'm not quite sure what's gone on there to bring the pace truck out, but I think it's Braith Kalin actually just taking the lead when the caution was called.
I think it might have just been. It's debatable as to when, based on when the caution was called.
No, it doesn't look like it was. It looked like the caution was called just before the move was completed, so Daniel Hardigan is still technically in the lead of this race. The lap count pauses. We're on lap 2 of 40 so far. But quite the start there all throughout the field. We saw quite a bit of jostling, but I think that initial melee, the drivers are going to have to be careful not to repeat that as they form up again into double file. They're going to have 1 lap of pacing left here, the pace truck pulling in at the end. So let's see how they go for round 2 between Hardigan and Kalin at the front of the field. Trent Gosley has managed to work his way up into 4th place, which is quite the jump in only 2 laps. Let's see how they go then. Daniel Hardigan is going to lead them away as we restart. We're green again. To the inside goes Miles Jansen. Or looks like Clayton Tilley just got into the wall ever so slightly there as the yellow flag is out again. And that is a pile up at the back of the field. Tom Callahan and Lindsay Hobbs involved in that one.
There's a big checkup going on the bottom side of the racetrack involving Daniel Gow, pretty sure. He just got turned by Callahan and then everybody else checked up, unfortunately. So a little bit of a mess there. Heileman actually managed to gain a few positions out of that, luckily. So might have just managed to move his way up the field a little bit there, but it's certainly not been the start we hoped.
Yeah, the number 2 and the number 50 coming together there. So that's how that all started. I think it was Thomas Mitchell in the number 2 there as well. So, Tom Callahan being given an end-of-line penalty. He has been deemed as the cause of that caution. And I'll correct myself, it was Daniel Gow in the number 2 car there. involved in that caution, just getting spun around slightly. Well, it's back-to-back cautions, so that means it's a single file restart for these guys. And good news for Braith Kalen. Braith has managed to actually take the lead from Daniel Hardigan before the caution came out. So he has the privilege of starting this one from the lead as they come around to start lap 4. Oh, Hardigan tried going for the slide job, but he's backed himself into... Oh, whoa. Okay. That's going to require a little bit more dissection, I think. Goodness me.
I think that's an understatement. That was just an all of a sudden moment that happened.
So Ethan Bastian and Joel Berkeley coming together there. Berkeley just came up as Bastian was going to the inside to make a move on... Wow. Cannot believe that. Huge incident between all of them. It was Miles Jansen that Ethan Bastian was trying to make the move on. Bastian is still there, but unfortunately Joel Berkeley is back in the pits, and Harry Stewart was the other car involved in that one, so that's not going to be good for them. I think Harry Stewart and Joel Berkeley might just join the list of retirements from this event. Big shame for the both of them. They are both championship contenders in any other series. But Braith Kalen is going to lead them away once more once the pace truck comes in at the end of this lap. And the restart's remaining single file because it seems like these guys can't complete more than a couple of laps without a pile-up happening somewhere. Off comes the pace truck and Braith Kalen puts the power down. Let's see if Daniel Hardigan can follow him into turn 1. Miles Jansen in third with Ethan Bastian pressuring him for that final spot on the podium. There goes Bastian to the inside as in the back of the field there, that's Lewis Clark getting a bit crossed up on the exit, and into the wall goes Aston Hurley. That's not going to work out well as the field bears down on him. Oh no. Okay. It looks like he might have just Alt F4'd in time to avoid a caution coming out, as it is still on for the lead. Braith Kalen now starting to pull away from Daniel Hardigan as Ethan Bastian goes for the move once more on Miles Jansen, trying his best, but he has got Trent Gosley right behind him, trying to set up a move. There's Jansen, got crossed up in the middle of the corner, and Ethan Bastian squeezing through on the outside. What a move!
Very good move, and Trent Gosley is going to make his way on by Jansen as well on the outside. So outside really starting to come into its own at the moment. He's going to struggle to keep it there, is Gosley, but he's managing to just hold on. Jansen still continuing to run the bottom and is going to finally move up now that there's a gap for him.
Yes, indeed. So now there's a real groove forming on the circuit, that big slick groove up towards the top of the circuit, and somewhat counterintuitively, that's where over the wall Jansen. Over the wall went Jansen as Cooper Dunn, it seems, involved in an incident of some kind that brought out that caution. A quick replay thanks to our mates at Modem Simulation, where we will get both. So what happened to Cooper Dunn here?
Oh, it was Craig Dunn, who had a bit of contact with someone on the outside on the way out of turn 2, who unfortunately got half spun. It was looking like it was Selleck and Magnum involved.
Yeah, righto. That was Cooper just going towards the inside there and trying his best to stay out of the way, but the yellow car down on the inside, just bit too much of a slide on. And here is Miles Jansen going over the fence, or over the barrier anyway. It just clipped the wall on the entry into 1 and 2. And we were talking about that wall at the start of the event. Thankfully, Jansen able to get back out onto the circuit, but that's certainly not going to do wonders for his rear axle.
Certainly, that diff is probably going to be very, very second-hand in its positioning now after ending up going over the wall. If not, he's very, very lucky, but nevertheless, he's probably going to be carrying a slight bit of damage. If he actually doesn't have any, he'll be very, very lucky, but nevertheless, he's at least back out there and still going to be able to try and make his way through the field.
Well, green, green, green once again. Braith Kalen's going to lead them away once more. Daniel Hardigan in second, Ethan Bastian in third, or getting into the wall ever so slightly, I think, was Lewis Clark, and he's fallen back as it's 3 wide through in the pack. Incredible racing at the moment. David Heilemann starting to fall back slightly, battling with Lewis Clark. And big contact between Tilley and Heilemann. The caution is back out again. And I don't know who's going to be apportioned the blame for that one, but that looked like quite the hit between David Heilemann and Clayton Tilley.
It certainly did look like a bit of contact, and it's for Tilley, and Tilley's been given an end of line.
Yeah, there we go. Modem simulation replay then of what happened. The two of them coming together on the exit of turn 3. Tilley, just got crossed up and came down the circuit, and Heilemann, I think, didn't really have many places to go. Let's have a look at the onboard from him. Down on the inside, and Tilley gets a bit of oversteer and goes straight down into him. That was a huge hit. Heilemann actually bouncing off the wall on the inside of the circuit as well. Very lucky to get away with that one.
Yeah, certainly very, very lucky to get away with that one and not have anything worse happen to him, but it's certainly not going to be what Clayton Tilley will have wanted at all, to be down the back of the field. Still got plenty of racing to go left, though, so he might just be able to get away with that and not lose too much, but he's certainly got a lot of work ahead of him to move back through the field.
This is the 5th caution of the night so far, and we are only 13 laps into the 40-lap feature. Let's see how many more cautions we get as the pace truck pulls away, and Braith Kalen's going to lead them on another restart. Nice application of the throttle there. Bastian almost getting into the wall along with Gosley and Clark and Heilemann, and they all come together. Oh my goodness, that was a big hit. Heilemann just tagging Bradley Minshall and sending him to the infield. But the battle continues. Ethan Bastian gets to the wall. Gosley goes right into him. That's the caution out. Gosley's been hit again. Oh no.
Yeah, that's not what they will have wanted, and Bastian's probably had his diff pushed out as a result of that, but Trent Gosley has been pinballed by pretty much everyone that's come on by, unfortunately, so a lot of damage to both of those race cars.
Yeah, well, we saw Bradley Minshall going off to the infield just there, but this is where it all happened. Bastian just overshooting into turn 1, clipping the wall, and Gosley had absolutely nowhere to go. He'd already committed to the outside.
You can just see he's running ever so close to the wall, and I guess that's the problem with running so close to the wall, is you end up running that risk, and unfortunately it doesn't always pay off, as we've seen there.
Yeah, especially when you consider the wall on the outside of turns 1 and 2 has a couple of places where it juts out, and down into the infield goes the number 54 car of Ethan Bastian. I get the feeling that might be his night done. Just a bit too much damage there to continue. So, caution number 6. And it's Braith Kalen who still leads them away at the front of the field. Daniel Hardigan trying his best to keep up with him, and Kalen is having quite a few technical issues at the moment, which is certainly not going to make things confident for Hardigan. There goes Daniel Gow up the inside of Lewis Clark for 3rd place. They've got David Heilemann right with them, as well as Luke Payton and Thomas Mitchell. Heilemann up to the outside, see if he can get the exit that he needs to stay with these guys. Lewis Clark trying once again up the inside of Daniel Gow, but nothing doing for the time being. He does get Heilemann crossed up on the exit, though. Ethan Bastian is confirmed as a retirement from this one. Round the outside, Lewis Clark goes firing it into turns 3 and 4, and Daniel Gow getting crossed up himself on the inside. This is a battle that I was not expecting for the final spot on the podium. Seems like all the drivers are in contention for it at the moment.
They certainly are. It's anybody's guess as to who of these 4, if not 5, is going to come away with the podium spots. It's absolutely anyone's guess, and it's just so close. Heilemann's going to lose the position to Thomas Mitchell now. Goes to the higher side, though, to try and get it back, but not quite going to be able to get it at this point in time.
the leaders coming together as we're now past half race distance. Daniel Hardigan is back into the lead, and Braith Kalin has been trading places with him. They actually came together a couple of times through the turn, but they still hold a good lead over the rest of the field here. With, my goodness, have a look at this battle. I can't believe that David Heilemann is able to keep up his wits about him in such a situation like this, but he has a lot of experience racing at World Championship level in the 410 sprint car. He keeps to the outside, he gets the exit down and rids himself of Thomas Mitchell for the time being. We're starting to see a bit more line experimentation here as round the outside goes Thomas Mitchell on Luke Payton, staying in the middle of the track. Drivers like Lewis Clark actually going more towards the inside. There's a little strip of fresh clay down there that is helping them to get their cars turned. Oh, is that a car in the wall?
Is in the wall on the outside of turns 3 and 4. That's probably going to cause a caution, and it is.
All right, Denny Vassell, on his side too. And we're not quite sure if the laps that we are counting are the same as what Race Control is counting, but we'll see what goes on towards the end of this event. Let's see what happened to Denny Vassell here coming into 3 and 4, sorry. Just turned in a little bit too late. The front end did not want to cooperate and just riding the wall. He would have, he got onto his side coming out of the turn as well. That's quite the ignominious way to end his night there. More or less.
So it's going to be another interesting restart to see what happens here, but it's going to be 14 to go when we go green here, and certainly been quite the battle for those final podium positions, and yeah, anyone's guess as to who's going to come away with them in the end, and definitely wouldn't count Heilemann as possibly coming through to steal a win here, maybe.
Yes, indeed. David Heilemann has been advancing gradually forward here as Daniel Hartigan prepares to take another start here. I gotta give mad props to Braith Kalin because he's managed to stay right with them the whole way round, and he's trying to look towards the inside to get a look in there on Daniel Hartigan, but Hartigan goes for it and secures the lead once again. Daniel Gow is going to try on the inside of Kalin, not going to work for him. What about his teammate Lewis Clark up onto the inside with David Heilemann riding the wall? And will they make it 3 wide? Just about on corner exit as Heilemann moves ahead of Clark and gives Gow a bit of a tap there. Now they're 3 wide through the exit of the turn. And Daniel Gow on the outside with the slightly better exit there. Meanwhile, the top 2, they don't seem to be troubled by any of this. The lap counter is indeed correct at the end of this lap. There we go. We will have 10 laps to go here. And the second half of this race has been decidedly less drama-filled than the first half.
Certainly has been. I guess that's somewhat down to now only having about less than 20 cars, about 16 still running at the moment, 15 on the lead lap, but it's certainly still very, very busy out there for a lot of these drivers, especially those inside that top 5, if not top 3, because at the moment, it's all on for the lead of the race. They're coming together. Barely holding on to it, Hartigan and Kalin, but this is absolutely going off at the moment at the front of the field between these two.
And the track is slick the whole way round, up to down at the moment. And Hartigan parking his car on the exit to try and deter Braith Kalin, but on the inside goes Braith. He's probably going to try and use the fresh clay on the inside to get an advantage here, and only 6 laps to go when they cross the line next, so it's going to be quite the finish. More technical issues there for Kalin, though. That's not going to work out well if they take him right before the finish, but Hartigan is still parking his car on the inside, not leaving Kalin enough room. Lap 36 then begins of 40. Lap 37, sorry. That's a big, huge run there from Braith. what is going to happen here as Mr. Heilemann now pressures Daniel Gao and moves through into third place. That's David Heilemann onto the podium here in the Sprint Car Grand Slam. But Daniel Gao's going to try his best to fire it back up the inside of him as the lead is still on. That is Kalen back into the lead and still suffering technical issues, but only a lap to go now after this one. Braith Kalen, a name that I had never seen before. I wasn't expecting such a performance from a driver like this. He just comes in and goes for it versus the establishment at Oceanic Dirt Sim events, and he's going to take the 410 Sprint Car Grand Slam. The fourth running of the event belongs to Braith Kalen. Congratulations, mate. What a drive. Excellent battling with Mr. Hardigan the whole way through.
Certainly timed it very, very well in the end. He just sat there, was patient, knew where he had to go, and the door was open, and that was it. He took the opportunity when he could all the way through turns 1 and 2 by using that outside line. So very, very good drive in the end by him, and it's a well-earned win in the end.
Yeah, and it looks to me like did Clayton Tilley retake third place from David Heilemann, or is that my timing being stupid? It is my timing being stupid. David Heilemann ended up completing the podium there. So a fantastic drive from the top three. It is Kalen, Hardigan, and Heilemann, your top three. Wow. And Tubby, as the nickname is on the front of his wing, tried to make his way into victory lane, but I don't think the track wanted to cooperate with him, so he is going to celebrate from his pit box. Wow. What an event. What a year. We've had the 360 Power Series. We've had the Australian Wingless Sprint Racing Invitational Series. We've had the ASC Championship. And now we've had the Grand Slam once again. What a fantastic run ODSE has had over the last 12 months. And I guess I can't wait for 2021 now. Bring it on, please.
Certainly. There's something in the works for late January by the sounds of it. So it's going to be something exciting, and looking forward to seeing what it is, because it's apparently very, very big.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to find out myself. But coming... I have just found out myself, and that is quite the announcement there. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that on the broadcast, so I am not. I am not, just said in my ear. But no, Jay, don't find out. Let's keep it a secret. Okay? We'll make a deal here. But that's going to be the end of it tonight. Oh, man. Yeah. Jay is saying it's big. I think you should take that as a hint, as we have our first driver in for interviews. All right, we can announce it, but we'll do it after the driver interviews, because we've got our feature winner here, Braith Kalen, in the commentary box with us. Welcome, Braith. Congratulations on your victory. That was quite the intense battle with Daniel Hardigan all through the race.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, at the start of the race, I really had the car hooked up, and then towards the end, it kind of faded, but just tried to keep my calm, really, and just wait for the opening for it to muck up.
And it worked out very well for you. It was a good night for you all up, with coming from 4th to 2nd in your heat 3, and driving around a track like this, new to the iRacing service. How was your approach to learning the track, just making sure that you had the best car possible?
I mean, really, I was just trying to set the car up and find really a line where no one really would figure out at this point in time, to put the car in a spot where it would be able to pass and be quick at the same time. And over time, I'd start to move my car slowly up in 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, I'd ride the top. And then once really halfway through the race, I started using that slide line, which came in really towards the end of the race, which was really quick the whole race.
Yeah, it certainly was, but Hardigan really kept you honest the whole way through. It got quite close quarters between the two of you as well, making contact a couple of times, but is that all fair game to you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, whenever you come out to the track, I give every driver the same amount of respect, and yeah, we did have a little touch and go there, but I just kept my calm and just really waited behind them. You know, just a bit of rubbing racing, so all a part of the game, isn't it?
That's true. Well, you are the fourth sprint car Grand Slam champion now. A great honour for you here at Oceanic Dirt Sim Events. Is there anyone that you would like to thank for your success before we let you go, Braith?
I'd like to thank Gage Stevens Designs, Plant Fabrication Services, Cooper Mini Hairdressing and Coffee, TMW Sim Sports, O'Brien Sim Sets. He's one of the guys I get out a lot of the time to give me a hand with setting up the car. Does a great job and does some ripper sets and good deals for them. And obviously Brady for putting on the league and you guys for broadcasting it.
Thank you very much for joining us, Braith Kalen, the winner of the Grand Slam. Next up is going to be our second place man, Daniel Hartigan, stood by with Cameron Dance.
It was probably not the result you wanted in the end, but it was a very, very hard-fought race for you, Mr. Hartigan, in the end.
Yeah. Braith drove well. Yeah, I didn't really make mistakes. I should have tugged the wing back, to be honest, but I was playing it a bit safe and cost me in the end. But yeah, overall, I've done about 20 laps at Cedar Lake, so I'll take second.
You know, obviously, with it being a very, very new track to the service, did you find it to be much of a challenge at all, or did you actually enjoy driving around it?
I'd say both challenging and enjoyable. It's always good to have a challenge, and yeah, just as you know, when laps makes you good at anything. So it was more just not knowing where to run, and I was sort of happy I dropped to second because I got to watch Braith where he was running, and then the middle come in and 1 and 2, and then yeah, I think everyone started running it, and it took that loose dirt away, and he was able to rail me around the top, which is a good move. So yeah.
Yeah, certainly, and it was a very, very hard racing in the end. And obviously, there was a little bit of banging between you two with some of the incidents down the back straight and that sort of stuff. Were you a little bit disappointed in some respects that stuff was happening, or was it just full fair game sort of Rubbings racing stuff?
To be honest, the connection was terrible. But from where I was racing, I honestly didn't think we even touched wheels. So, because as you know, you got the wingboard on the right side of the car, but no one crashed. So I just call it hard racing.
There we have it. It's pretty sealed there, Reese. But before we let you go, just any thanks and any shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, just thanks to Bob and Brady for running the event, and Brady who gives up his nights to run it. You guys for doing the stream. It's good. It helps our sim teams get the exposure that we need, and you guys do a great job. And just Ace Esports, Bob, Daniel, Clayton were in there tonight. I think Daniel Gowie had a good result, fourth in a good race with David. Just our sponsors, Bunbury Kitchens, Cricky Motorsport, and P1 Racewear. And just well done to Braith again on the win. That was a hard race, and yeah, he's done well.
Thank you very much, Daniel. But I believe you are standing on by with third place finisher, Reese.
I am indeed. David Heilemann, P3 at the end of the night. You won your heat, but things didn't quite go your way in the pole shuffle. Can you describe what went wrong for you there?
Yeah, looking back now, I think it's obvious. We just picked the wrong lane choice, and then just having to start 10th there, and we just weren't able to avoid stuff early. And I just don't know if it was me or the server, but it was just the way you have to enter the corner here so close to the wall. It just seemed like people kept hitting the wall in front of me, and I had to keep lifting, or I would think they were going to run the slagger in front of me, but then they would just stick the middle. So I just couldn't read anything around me. And then as far as the car and track line, it wasn't too great either. But I think we were back. I don't know. We were outside the top 15 after the first two yellows, and we just kind of avoided everything else to get back up to the front.
So all up, quite a challenging night for you. A lot of uphill battling.
Yeah, definitely was an uphill battle in the feature there. I don't know if I had damage. Car felt all right. It just was track was tough. There was just kept trying to figure out a way to exit turn 2 because the top was killed, but the middle was slow, but I just had to get around the guys in front of me, and then kind of found that bottom at the end, but couldn't really make a clean lap out of 3 and 4 then. But thanks to Bob and Brady for putting it on again, and you guys for broadcasting. I'm sure I'll be here for the next one.
Yes, for sure, and I think you should be really happy with a third place there, David, especially considering how your night has gone. Before we let you go, is there anyone else you'd like to thank from your personal sponsors?
Yep, just Ryko Setups and the guys back at Slick Sim Sport.
David Heileman there, sounding quite disappointed with how the night had gone for him, but still, a third place is nothing to sneeze at. Well, Cam, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight and for the whole year in terms of dirt racing here on SimSpeed TV. We can officially announce what the January series is going to be. Starting in late January, Oceanic Dirt Sim Events will be running a big block modified series. So whack your roofs on and go for a fang.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be a very, very good event, I reckon. And be interesting to see what the racing is like with those cars. I haven't actually done any laps myself. So, yeah, looking forward to it, and might have to get out there and give it a go myself.
Yes, well, we'll see. We'll see if I don't either. I do like those big block modifiers, but we do need someone up here in the commentary box. We'll see what happens. We always work it out here at SimSpeed TV. We want to give once more a big thanks to Brady and Bob, the guys at Oceanic Dirt Sim Events, for putting this whole thing on, and of course, a big congratulations to Braith Kalin for taking the victory in the feature. That was a very fine drive indeed, and I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of racing Cedar Lake Speedway puts up on the iRacing service in the future. I'm Reese Gardner, Cameron Dance alongside me in the commentary box, and Jay Kennedy making everything happen behind the scenes. It is bye for now, but not forever. We wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got with the outside. Both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?